Hey, Scott, thanks for having me back on another exciting installment of Facebook Live.
Yeah, glad to have you. And I'm enjoying. I've done this before, enjoying some of the sun, and I know you got the fake sun with some of the lights there inside the office.
Yeah, it's not quite giving me the
So,
tan that
and
you'll get,
glad
though.
to be back here, though. That's for sure. This dome. So, anyway, glad everyone's joining us here on TuckerAllen Live, right here on Facebook. We're going to talk about just a brief topic today, which is actually it's another good one. Um, what happens when you get a scary diagnosis from one of your doctors, and what do you do? I mean, I know you worry about the medical perspective and what are my treatments going to be, but there's a whole host of things. And now coming off of the pandemic, and now again we're hearing about the Delta variant with COVID, and what do we do? And are you going to get diagnosed with that? So, Jim, what's the first thing? Let's say you get a doctor calls you, hey, you got some bad news. It's scary. What's the first thing you do with an estate planning attorney?
So I know this sounds self-serving, but the first thing you do is call an estate planning attorney. So if you have one already that you've set your estate plan up with, give them a call, come in, review everything, make sure you've got the right people in the right places for decision making. And if you don't have an estate planning attorney and don't have an estate plan set up, it's one of those life events that we talk about that really prompts people to come in and talk about it. And at minimum, you're going to need powers of attorney when something like this happens, so that if your health does take a turn for the worst, and you can't make your own decisions, you want someone in place that can do that for you without having to go through a court guardianship or conservatorship.
Yeah, I mean, totally. And it seems, I know you walk delicately with it. You don't want it to be morbid, and it's not. I mean, look, if anything's taught us a lesson with COVID, it's preparation, facing the hard decisions when you need to make those decisions. And so, especially when you have to worry and focus a lot on your health, is there something you could do to have someone control all of your financials and make those decisions for you? Is that one of the recommendations you would suggest?
Yeah, absolutely. And timelines they become important. So depending on the diagnosis, the doctor may have given you a timeline. We expect you to, you still have years and years to go, or you've got months. And so that's important to think of, because it does take time to get these in place. You can't come in when, you're feeling really, really bad, and maybe tomorrow you've got to go in on hospice care or something like that, or can't do things for yourself, and expect, these things to get done in 24 hours. These are, up to a month it could take to get through the whole process, at least a few weeks. And so, yeah, I mean, getting that stuff put in place. And if you have things in place, even, we're going to want to review that, and we can take steps to alleviate your stress. So this is a time where you're supposed to be focusing on your health. And so we can, do things like, make a springing power of attorney a immediate power of attorney. So that person can take care of things now, instead of you having to run to the bank or do stuff for yourself. They can do things now, and even be a co-agent with you.
Yeah, I mean, there's some immediate steps that you would want to take. And again, this isn't just about, look, you've taken steps perhaps to plan and to prepare and to provide for your kids, your family, your friends, whatever it may be. Maybe it's time to review titles. How are they designated? We've talked a lot about TOD, POD, just maybe reviewing what happens. Let's just say the worst happens. Let's say you've got COVID and you've got to be put on a ventilator, which means you're going to be unconscious. I don't know what that would look like. But the point is, shouldn't you be reviewing what you have? Is it appropriately designated? Is it appropriately titled? Wouldn't that be something you'd want to do?
Absolutely. So the most overlooked aspect of estate planning, once you even get into the attorney's office. So actually, I guess the most overlooked aspect of estate planning is even just getting an estate plan in place, because the majority of people don't. I think it's something like 45% of people even have a will or a trust in place. But once you've gotten even, past that step, everybody says, oh, we've gotten our estate planning put in place. We've gotten our estate plan done, met with the attorney, signed everything. We've got our binder. We feel accomplished. Everything's great. They go home, they put the document in their safe, and they never touch it again. And so the most overlooked aspect of estate planning, especially when you've got a trust, is funding that trust and retitling assets. So, when you've got a scary diagnosis like this, and you're kind of faced with your own mortality, it's a silver lining, a good time to go through and check those titles on your assets, get your homework done for the trust, because if the designations aren't made, then we're dealing with a probate court and or potentially things going to someone that you didn't want on your beneficiary designation.
Yeah, we talked a lot about that, and in the last virtual town hall is avoiding probate. What happens with the probate process, the cost, the expense, the length, the time, the aggravation, the stress. And the point is that you don't, maybe the wrong takeaway here. And I think that's some of the negatives when you see some of the commercials with some of these companies that, hey, go download this, go get this will. It's real easy. Go down, download this trust. It's fill in the blank. It's not that easy, because you don't want to just knee-jerk reaction probably and just name minor children as beneficiaries on a lot of things. That could be more problematic.
Right. Then you've got to deal with Uniform Transfer to Minor Act accounts, and who's going to manage that and be the custodian until the kids turn the age of majority. So it's just, meeting with an attorney versus meeting with a website is night and day, because we can spitball back and forth in a face-to-face attorney meeting. Whereas a website, you've got limited information that you're reading, clicking, and like you said, you don't want this to be a knee-jerk reaction. We've dealt with this, over and over throughout our careers, and in fact, just this past week, a client came in with it was a very on-topic Facebook Live this week for me, because a client came in with a scary diagnosis, and it was just to review his estate plan. The meeting went very smoothly. It turns out he had everything more or less in place the way he wanted it. But it was, we're going through retitling stuff. There was a small change we wanted to make for, the kids are a different age than when they set the original trust up. So things had changed. And obviously now it's come to the forefront of his mind where, we want to make sure everything is right. And now, we've got limited time to do it now.
Yeah, it reminds me, I just dealt with maybe about a year ago, family member was sick in the hospital, not a good prognosis. We had to hurry through, get everything and double check. It wasn't morbid. We weren't certain she would recover. We weren't certain whether or not, and we just wanted to make sure. But as you mentioned, that client coming in, kids were a much younger age. Again, I always bring it up because I think it's such a wonderful program for people that aren't familiar with the Legacy Protection Program. That's a classic example of this maintenance tune-up check every year that you all provide through the Legacy Protection Program. You don't have to have been a client of TuckerAllen. You can sign up for it, but you can come in, check a look, make sure everything's up to date. Maybe trustees are out of date, the children are out of date, the beneficiaries are out of date, whatever it is. It really needs just a health checkup every year. And that's really what that Legacy Protection Program, covers. And it could really take advantage of a situation like this. If you maybe get a diagnosis, but you just did your checkup through the Legacy Protection Program, which is a very cheap and inexpensive way to keep your trust up to date.
Absolutely. So we had a client, actually another client, come in this past week, and they were members of the Legacy Protection Program, and they had their daughter-in-law named on their assets or on their powers of attorney as an agent in their trust. Well, that person's no longer their daughter-in-law. So, they don't necessarily want her on there anymore. So had we done per document changes, it would have cost them right around as much as they paid for the plan. But, simple things like agent changes are included in that program. So it cost them nothing except for the $300, $299 annual fee.
Yeah. And if you want more information about it, you need to go to the website, TuckerAllen.com. I have to tell you, it's probably the best money. We spend more getting routine oil changes, tire rotations, when it's just a depreciating asset, rather than everything that we've worked hard for. So encourage you all to check it out. So, Jim, thanks for the information today. I know it's a touchy subject, but I appreciate the time.
Yeah, no problem. Thanks for having me.
Well, every Friday, 1 o'clock Central Time, tune in, just like this, bring you information on things that matter, things that you can take action on, and those items. So check out TuckerAllen.com. You can schedule a consultation just from the website. You don't even have to pick up the phone and make a phone call. You can also get more information on the Legacy Protection Program right then, right there. So if you want to consult, get online. Again, keep tuning in every Friday, 1 o'clock right here on Facebook. Until then, have a great weekend.